Welcome to the Grit Growth Podcast. Commit to conquer, lead your life, leave a legacy, gather your grit, and let's get after it.
Carson.
Eric, how's it going?
I am well, sir.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Matt?
Eric, how you doing?
How's business going?
It's going. We have our first event next week, and excited to have you all out in a few weeks.
Well, hey, we're excited to be there. It's going to be fun.
That's right. I'll make sure to have a cow in the chute for you.
There you go. I love it. I love it. I'll never forget that day.
So it was LG and Eric. I think you were going through LG, right?
I was in LG. Yeah, I was in that class. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they had the agriculture day, and I think Anita was one of the deans.
She was the dean.
She brought him out to the farm just to kind of see what a kind of a small, kind of local cattle farm is. And so we actually had brought up some of the cattle in the chutes and kind of bringing them through the chute, kind of going, again, you're checking to see if they're pregnant, or you're castrating, or you're giving the shots. And I'm kind of back there by one of the cows, and sure enough, it lets loose on me. And I'm like, yep, that's all part of the deal.
Awesome.
We had Cowboy Matt to the rescue.
That's right.
Yes.
So as we just like slap your hand down. And then you see who shakes your hand afterwards, who's really,
Right.
Okay. Hey, we were in the midst. We were in the midst of the an authentic.
There you go.
Ranch hand there.
More like City Slickers.
Yeah.
That movie.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Curly was in the back just laughing at me.
It's memorable though. A lot of people never forget that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome watching someone get pooped on.
Okay, it's the reality of the work, and it's the stuff you don't think about, just like, yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's awesome. Okay, well, Eric, thanks for being here with us. I've been looking forward to the conversation. And so this is the Grit Growth Podcast. We're just here to talk about basically tenacity, and work ethic and perseverance, and where it could get you, and through the lens of entrepreneurship for this first season, primarily and specifically. So with that being said, do you want to just kick it off with kind of a little bit of background about who you are and what you do, and then we'll see where the conversation goes from there.
All right. Well, thank you, Carson. Thank you, Matt. So Eric Godet, President, CEO of the Greater Gainesville Chamber of Commerce. Truly have an honor to do that. A little bit about me: grew up in the Bahamas, came over here in high school up in Tennessee, and from there went and spent a couple years up at Morehouse. Thought I was going to go over to Europe. Got me a scholarship at the Basilica Theologica Italia in Rome, Italy. Man, I was all set, ready to go. And my dad's like, it's not going to happen. It's not happening. Shut it down. And it was one of those things. I was disappointed because my sister was over in London, man, living the life, catching the train, going to different countries every weekend, telling me what's going on. I was ready to enjoy some of that. And for me, my background is one where I was a kid. I always thought I was going to be a priest. And so I love the study of theology and that kind of stuff. And even though I knew I wasn't going to be a priest at that point, because I already met my wife, we were teenagers, and I told him I'm not going to make a good priest. I'm just like, he just got the biggest kick out of that. He said, well, all those priests and monks do all that stuff over there at St. Leo's, right outside of Tampa. And you can go finish up all your coursework and stuff there. And that's what I did. From there, I graduated, got an incredible job. It was a great story at IBM, doing revenue expense billing adjustments in their finance department. I thought I was
exactly what you studied.
Exactly what you studied. I know, I thought I was going to be teaching, with the biology and theology, I figure I better look for some high school now and coach some sports. And it's funny because I was at that job fair thing with my roommate who was a finance major. And I ended up getting the finance job. And I'm just standing on the side waiting. And one of these recruiters who came in just asked to see my transcript. He had gone out on a smoking break and came in. We just started a conversation, and he goes, we're looking for a cultural fit. It's the first time I ever heard that term, and with your transcript, I see all the math and physics and chemistry and biology. Oh, we could definitely teach you what we need to teach you. And we're just making sure that, you'd fit in our culture. And I said, well, my roommate, he's a finance guy. And he goes, oh, we don't hire those guys. We hire folks. They come in thinking they know everything. We hire folks who we teach, and then they do it our way at IBM. I'm like, okay. And I did it their way.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty fortuitous in terms of following your vision, your plan, and your passion, what things will open up for you. And so I was there at IBM for several years, and I left to go to grad school because it was wonderful. They paid well. It's a great job, but I could not see myself counting other people's money the rest of my life. That just,
just didn't do it for
I
you.
wouldn't have been fired up about that. And there was this whole new thing happening out there called biotech and different things and all that stuff. And so I applied to one of the first programs was out there. It's in Pennsylvania. It's at Hahnemann, downtown Philadelphia. And it was Hahnemann was a medical college, and they did a lot of graduate research and stuff. And it was incredible. I got accepted in the program. I was there. I think after the first semester, I already got an offer from Johnson & Johnson and to work with their Pharmaceutical Research Institute. And after I finished there, I was at J&J. And at the same time, I had found out that my wife wanted to be a dentist. I did not know that. While we were in undergrad and everything, she was studying marketing. And I thought that's what she wanted to do. And but when we were up there, I got this photo album sent to me from her grandmother. And she had a photo album of all the kids. And this one, it started out, baby pictures, all that stuff. And it was one, it had a newspaper article. She was like 5 years old, and she was modeling like this Easter dress. And they, the interviewer or the front said, the journalist, like, oh, do you want to be a model when you grow up? And she says, no, I want to be a dentist. She's like 5. I'm like, who knows they want to be a dentist at 5? It's the craziest thing.
Talk about follow through.
Yeah, and I was just laughing because my dad's a dentist, and people have been trying to get me in that field, and they couldn't pay me enough. The only oral cavity I'm interested in was my own.
Right.
Like just shoot me now if you're telling me that career. I'll go back to counting other people's money. It's kind of like no. And so I said, hey, honey, I didn't know you wanted to be a dentist when you were a little girl. She said, I still want to be a dentist. I'm like, what? So why did you go and study all this marketing? And she was saying she just didn't have the confidence and didn't have that. I'm saying you didn't even try. And so we're in Pennsylvania. She took all of her prerequisite classes. I think it was at Bryn Mawr, that kind of thing, did all that stuff, applied, and got in everywhere. Penn, Temple, game. They had like 4 in the city of Philly. I think we only had 1 in the whole state of Florida at the time. It was crazy. But we were so excited, when that UF came through, baby. We knew we were heading to Florida because we were behaving, sitting up there freezing in Pennsylvania. Hey, we're about to thaw out now, it's like.
So she got accepted into Florida dentistry.
Yeah, she got in everywhere.
Okay.
I'm like, are you kidding me? And she didn't even try before then, it was incredible. So yeah, and that's how we got down here.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. And you never left.
That's a whole nother story.
So where did it take? So she's in dental school. Where did it take
Yeah.
you? Where'd that leave you?
So she got into dental school, and I'm at J&J, and they're thinking I'm going to a competitor. And I tell them, look, name one and I'll be there. We didn't have anyone around there. They said, what are you going to do? And my dad was the same way. What are you going to do? You're not going to leave that good job. Because that was his answer when I left IBM to go to grad school. And then once J&J made me the offer, he's like, oh, okay, I guess you know what you're doing. Now I'm leaving J&J. This is just unheard of in his day and age. The companies that stayed there, just like, what was going on with this crazy kid of his. And I said, well, I guess I'm gonna have to work at Shands, because I don't know of anything else down there. That's it. I'm gonna have to work for the healthcare. And I put in my application and applied. And when I came down, I had 2 offers from the Department of Orthopedics, Dr. Betty, and then one was education and procurement coordinator specialist. And the job is to train the residents how to recover organs and tissues for transplant. And a lot of that had to do with the research I did up at Hahnemann with the stimulation of reticulocytes and bone marrow. more of that bone marrow research and transplant. And I'm fortunate I'm still on the transplant board today, and it's just really a neat story. And he was sharing his vision. We had a director, Jamie Grooms, at the time that was in there, and they're sharing this vision about we're going to spin off, we're going to do all of this, and blah blah blah, and start this tissue bank thing. And I'm just listening, like, hey, I just need a job, man, you know. And I don't want to lie to you guys. I'm going to be here 3 years, and I'm out. I'm waiting for my wife to finish, and we got plans. You know, we're just saying, we're out of here. I don't. You guys have been good to me, and I remember Dr. Petty. Oh well, you know, these young men come in here all the time and say they're going to leave, and they're still here, and that kind of. I'm like, look, man, you didn't offer me one, you offered me 2 jobs. I do not want to lie to you, man. I'm just like, hey, 3 years and I'm out. You know, I appreciate it. I needed this job while I'm here, you know. And hey, you know, the vision and everything they had happened. I mean, you look at RTI Surgical, spun off out of the university, you know, created all of these different funding for the university to help build a lot of the buildings on campus, the Orthopedic Center, part of the large cancer genetics research institute, the brain institute, part of that. You look at where those funds went around campus, and it was really a good thing to really watch them push out the whole organization to really start spinning off technology a lot faster based on that happened. You know, the biggest one being Gatorade that had happened before us, and the others there, but it was just really a neat story. And you see Exactech, you know, that the Pettys have founded, and that kind of stuff that's there. And Dr. Petty was our chairman of the department that, you know, really was the key for a lot of this to happen under. And you watch the university and how it's taken off since then. But I think he's very strategic in the people he was bringing in. He knew people that were bringing in skills, assets, or whatever, tenacity, whatever that he wanted and needed. People that would stick with something to make it happen. And that's really, you know, the genesis of the story, that a lot of this is available to everyone, but does everyone really have that inner fortitude to do what it takes and to pay the price and willing to make it happen? And I think that's kind of what separates us, because the opportunities are in this community, and you'll see people do it multiple times because the opportunities are here. And then you see those who are always struggling and never seem to make that happen.
So there. I mean, you hit on a lot right there. Mm-hmm. Just, I mean, outside of this, you know, your story to this point, we still have more to go with your story, but just in that last kind of 30 seconds in the Pettys and Exactech and RTI and how that revolved back around, and the fortitude, the will to make it happen. So you talked about that, but what about those who don't have that will?
Right.
Like what advice do you give them? And maybe it's not advice, maybe it's, you know, what do they need to get, you know, to make it happen? Right.
So that's a great point. It's something I've looked at for years. And it's one of the things we're really working with a group of men in this town. We have an organization that's called Mirror Image.
Yes, I know of it.
Yeah. And part of it is we recognize that when I talk to my peers that have been successful and we all exchange, I recognize that I had people in my life that, 1, believed in me, 2, exposed me to what I could be and achieve, and 3, didn't let me settle for anything other than what I was created to be. And so you know, when you're in a community like ours, I find our community to be abundantly rich with almost everything that anyone would need. But in the midst of that abundance, we still have those who are fighting for food insecurity, barely getting by. They don't know how to tap in to receive what's here and then even use it to help propel themselves and even lift up others. And so I think it's really important for us to sometimes just stop and look at our system, recognize it's broken, be thankful for all the people who are trying to make a difference, but we have to try something different at times.
Right.
And, you know, add it. So you don't say anything negative about those who are mentoring. That's incredible. That's great. We need to have more of that, but we need to do something different from an exposure standpoint. So I'll give an example. In the first cohort, the first class that we had in Mirror Image, all of those kids came in, and most of them were from single parents, mostly moms, dad's gone in jail, whatever the deal is. And they were really identified to us and their parents through the principals of their school that could really utilize this help more than any other. The key that really, for all of them, they weren't exposed. They didn't have someone in their ear who believed in them and that would hold them accountable and make sure they moved forward. And so one of the key tenets with Mirror Image Leadership Institute is make sure we expose them. So after that first summer and they got exposed to many people and stuff, I watched a significant change that I realized this was going to be transformational. All of those kids came in wanting to be football, basketball, baseball, athletic stars.
Right.
After one summer, they're talking accounting, attorney, physician. I mean, the whole dialogue, everything changed just from that exposure. If you ever went on one of the trips with these kids and watched their eyes, when we took them to the hospital, North Florida, it was incredible. Okay, they knew hospital, they're going to be doctors and nurses. It's kind of like what they had in their mind. They had no idea of all the different technicians, administration, support staff, chefs, cooks, everything that's in there, nutrition, everything tied to it. They go in there and they see I don't know, they probably have about 4 or 5 of these Da Vinci robots and this kind of stuff.
Right.
Look like they could use their games to control and do these procedures. Their eyes are just, just like they're transformed. They're never going to be the same. From that exposure, they can now see themselves in that setting. They see people that look like them in that setting doing these different jobs that in their world before they walked in, that they did not have a clue existed.
Right. Right. So you take the entrepreneurial spirit and what they were exposed to was athletics. And that's probably why that's what was on their mind. That was their biggest exposure. Now you've exposed them to the professional world. How do you instill the passion, and that tenacity then?
Sure.
Is that the next summer? Is that the summer after? No,
that's the beginning. And that's where the part of the schoolwork that happens. You let them know that they're created in the image and likeness of God, and they are unique, and they are created with unique gifts and talents that the world's waiting to receive. You ignite that fire so they can receive and know who they are, not waiting to become who they've already been created. It's in them. And you just want to make sure they recognize that value and let that spirit show and shine. And with that, we're focusing on not the 12-year-old kid that came in the 7th grade. You're focusing on the 62-year-old grandfather that have generations of change left behind him.
Yeah.
And you've made that connection. But you're igniting that fire and who they are already, and letting them come to recognize and be exposed to see these desires of what resonates with them and what doesn't.
How many classes have you kind of seen go through so far?
So this was the second summer, second cohort.
So, what the exposure, kind of ignite the fire. I mean, what else are you instilling in them to be entrepreneurs? And again, we're kind of talking about the grit.
It is.
And, that again, the fire, the passion is all there. Actually, Carson has I'm stealing Carson's thunder right now when it comes to the passion side of it.
The key is really, the grit for them. Their job is their schoolwork day in and day out. Okay. So many of them, it wasn't cool to be good in school.
Right.
Many of them prior to this, where am I going to ever use this? With these exposure trips, they get to see where they're going to use it and the reasons to be successful in school. So we have an incredible individual, James Miller, a pastor and former, minister that would help with Haven Hospice and do that kind of stuff. And he's executive director. And he spends time at all the schools. He knows all of their teachers with the principals, and they see him in there. We're holding them accountable because that's the grit. That's the grind. That's the day to day. So you got this passion. You want to become this. Well, there's a price you have to pay. You're not going to always feel like doing it, but you need to get up and do it. This is the grind. You want to be successful. You better embrace. I don't know if I can say it. I was going to say embrace the suck. Just gotta, embrace it, man. Hey, wrap your arms around it. This is the price you pay. You see people who are successful, guess what? They've stepped up and committed, and they're doing the work when nobody else is looking. Are you willing to pay the price? You say you want to be this now. This
I
is
mean,
the prize.
it's very relatable to athletics, right? You don't
Yeah,
you don't put in the
absolutely.
time, the effort. I mean, it's just it's a different
Exactly.
effort.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
know, we all have gifts and talents, but the best are those who put the work in with it. And
Oh, here's another. Wait for Carson right here. You just opened them up, Eric.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I'm here to say. I mean that's what this podcast is all about. What you just articulated for that last couple minutes there is perfect, because that's what it's all about. It's like why was Michael Jordan great? Michael Jordan was great because of free throws and dribbling and passing, right? It's basics. He didn't do anything fancy or crazy. It was basics. It was day in and day out, 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's what people, it's take the glamour, and the championship rings out of it and look at the grind. That's exactly what I'm trying to portray as reality, as opposed to the glamorous side of it that people see on TikTok and MTV, because it's just not real. So that's it. That's what I'm here. That's exactly the message I'm trying to portray. So man, it sounds like the mirror image program would really complement my message. It's exactly what I'm trying to
Greg
do.
Bradley, who runs that, is on our invite list. So Eric, maybe you can reach out to Greg to prompt him to sign up, but we've sent him an invite.
All right, perfect. Hey, Greg has really given this a lot of thought, and for years he's been talking about doing it and really assembled the board and the group. And let me tell you, what a gift to have in our community.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yep.
So when we talk about that entrepreneurship, I'm loving to see where the program's going to go overall.
Yeah.
But in your role as with the chamber, so not only have you been an entrepreneur, you've been a part of businesses and startups. Now you're helping the business community.
Right.
What's some advice you can give now that business person out there trying to make it work? What's something that and let's go to the intangibles, right? What are the intangibles needed? I went to a course, did a little course at UF, kind of guest lecturer, and kind of asked them what's it mean to, like, what do you need to start up a business? And everything was tangible that they told me.
Yeah.
Capital, connections, you need to market. I'm like, great. What are the intangibles? Right? Because that's the known, that's the book.
Yeah.
Well, what is it that we don't know?
So the biggest thing is really the demand. You look at it. If you have the demand, you have a market. So I tell people, and this is what I tell site selectors, we had 8 of them in town this weekend. We even had the Consul General from Japan, and we're looking and making sure targeting for international companies along with national, building up our manufacturing and industry base to complement our eds and meds. And we're doing this, and we're very strategic in those type of industries we're going after to make sure we complement what's already here. But more importantly, we provide good paying jobs for many of those individuals who aren't going to go to college, who are looking for career and technical type programs, stuff that we haven't really prioritized. We've done an incredible job with higher education in our state, but we've dropped the ball with career and technical education. And so for us, we're strategically looking at those companies to bring in here, pay those high wages, have those skills, take folks right out of high school, and make sure that we're addressing the needs for everyone. Now, with those, you want something that's in demand. And I tell people we're not aware. We had so much demand in our community for retail. And the reason that demand was so high, it isn't because of our local community, but it was the additional 10 counties with ours. And so when we look at that, we're talking about 2 million people, just under that number. And if we saw what happened, one of the things I love to tell everyone, Trader Joe's came here to Gainesville before it went anywhere else in the state of Florida, before Miami, Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa, Naples, you name it, Sarasota, anywhere. It came here. And my question is like, why'd you come here? I mean, I'm glad you came here.
Right.
Well, because they understand the demand. And so we actually had people driving from Orlando to Trader Joe's with coolers, from Jacksonville. I mean, driving from Jacksonville to Gainesville, to Trader Joe's with coolers. And the retailers recognized this before we did. That, our location, our geography was critical to really tap in. And they even took it further than our 11 counties. They took all of North Central Florida, and they knew we were about 4,500,000, you see? And they're coming up and down I-75 or 301 or 441. And so they just knew that inherent traffic. So I took that and extrapolated in terms of not just retail, but as employers. Once talent became the largest factor that everyone's looking for, we have this pool. And if you look at UF Health, the VA, North Florida, our biotech, our different companies, we're hiring people from all the surrounding counties.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those kind of things. So when we look at our numbers, it's just not our county numbers that we're putting in there. We're putting in our region. Because I was talking to a young lady from Melrose the other day, and she's telling me how her husband packs her lunch and gets her up because she's got this good job in Gainesville that got their great benefit and that great salary. And he stays in Melrose and he works there at the local shop and picks up the kids and does all that other stuff. But he makes sure she's already take care of that good job in the city,
The family appreciates that job.
Exactly. Yeah. And, she said, there's nothing like this in our town, and I totally get it. And so others are seeing that. And so I think the key is demand. And so for us, we recognize that there are industries we really needed to address that we didn't have that demand. Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at the startups from UF, you look at the RTI, the Exact Techs, you look at the 441 corridor building out, the innovation hub, what would you tell some of those startups, they need to be doing on a mental side?
Sure. So the thing is, you need to be resilient. And it's funny. So I just came from Oak-Hammock and talking to their leadership group over there, and they were asking some of those questions. I said, well, what people don't see is I'm in the office one night. It was like 2 a.m. and I come in and I see our director, who ended up being our CEO. He's there. Then I watch our lab technician. He's coming in because he had to get those stuff, and he's there. Now we've all been there during the regular part of the day, but this is the world of a startup. You do what it takes, and you show up whenever to make sure. We didn't have people to throw at the problem. So we knew it was a handful of us. There were the founders that we had to do the work, even though it had totally nothing to do with our position. If it was going to get done, it was going to be one of us. And it comes back to, are you willing to pay the price to make it happen? Everybody isn't willing. Everyone isn't willing to get up at 2 and get in there and make it happen. Everyone isn't willing to stay there. Our, CEO at that time, he was there since the working business. I was still 2, The lab guy had come in about 4 hours earlier to make sure all the lab stuff was, and he was there as soon as the timer went off to get him out and do the reading at the proper time.
Right. He went and had dinner at the house, but he came back.
Exactly. And it's funny. I caught him there as a sleeping bag. This is the mentality, and everyone really does. They love that idea of being a founder. They love all the glamour and all the stuff afterwards, and the stock and all the payouts, but they don't understand or see what happens in private and what's quiet and no one else, unless you're a part of it, is experiencing.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly the story I'm trying to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So would you do it again?
Oh, in a heartbeat. I think it's either in you or it isn't.
Right.
And we haven't. So I was sharing another story where we got the same group of guys, some of the different folks from RTI. After we built it, we were starting another one. We're using some technology from University of Florida. It was all based on old food science technology back in the 60s, but they didn't have the computers and stuff to make it happen. Incredible stuff that we're doing. But you have to be careful who you partner with, because our lead investor was this guy who had sold a finance company, CPA kind of thing, put in all this stuff, and we're moving, the company's growing, everything's exciting. Next thing we know, all our accounts are shut down. We don't know what's going on. Well, he's busted. He's got some operation bringing in marijuana from across the border. And thinking, we got everything and all our stuff tied up in this thing. Now, I knew everybody else, but I met this guy through them. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? So it's so important to know who you're working with. And this guy didn't need this.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with folks with different levels of greed and that kind of stuff. And so we had to sell it. And we sold it to this incredible group that's in San Antonio. And I knew all these people from back in my early days at RTI, and they're in the industry. And I was trying to get them to keep that company here, but they moved it to San Antonio with them. It's that kind of thing, but it's all part of it. And whatever you're doing, you're still dealing with people. So you have to know the people you're working with. And I say,
and you still have a smile. Yeah, and you still have a smile on your face through all
Oh
that.
yeah, it was successful. You know, it was a blessing, but you know, it could have been so much more. But it's okay.
Right.
You know,
But
you
that had to be a
control what
gut
you can.
punch, right? I mean, a
Pardon?
total gut punch.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. It was a shock, and it was the biggest shock knowing that we were being followed later by, you know, these DEA guys and all this stuff for like about a year in the FBI. And we had no clue.
right. They're trying to see if you were part of it.
Right. And then they realized we had no clue.
Right.
That's crazy. But that's reality though, right?
I tell people you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's out there, you know, just kind of like I watch all kinds of stuff and people like, hey, I got some real life that'll
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But
That's reality though,
that
right?
resilience.
It's not all butterflies and rainbows, and you just have to
No.
roll with the punches sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you smile about it, you laugh it off, you know, and
Hey,
what are you
go
gonna
back
do?
to work. You
Just
find something
try-
else, you know, it's
try to
okay.
stay off the DEA's radar. after that.
Exactly.
Right. Little things like that.
Man.
Are you still being followed?
Not to my knowledge, but I mean they can because hey, I'm not doing anything.
Do you check that rearview mirror every now and then? It's like,
It's just like, hey, I'm just,
Are they
hey,
tailing me?
I would be too boring because all I do is work. You know, there's nothing glamorous here.
well, you were kind of hitting on some mantras earlier, and you know, the one is like what you get to do, not what you have to do.
Exactly.
Right. And it you know, embrace the suck, you know,
Yeah.
but hey, it's what I get to do every day because I've got the opportunity to embrace that suck. You know, other people don't,
Right.
you
I
know.
mean, it's true, Matt. I mean, I get to help so many businesses in our community, especially small ones. And it's really great the number of young business folks that are coming out of UF that are in UF at the same time, that are even, you know, that coming up with ideas and encourage them and just like, look, this is an incredible idea. Nobody else is doing this. You need to build on this and be the first to the market. There's demand for this. You know, you have to be realistic. Now, you know, somebody wants to come out with the eyelash shop and that kind of thing. I just like, you need to talk to somebody else. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
In my eyes, you would have no demand. Somebody in the cosmetic, they may figure there is tremendous demand, you know, and all the names
Right.
like, hey, I can put you in touch with some folks who can help guide you. You know, I kind of, there are things I know, but I know what I don't know.
Right.
That's what I don't know. You know, but if you're passionate about it and that demand's there, be prepared to stay in it. You know, there are basic business principles that are available for everyone. But, you know, it's sometimes I see some niches that are pretty unique and pretty small for our community. I'm like, that might work in New York City, but hey, you know, give it a shot.
Right.
We discourage you if that's your passion, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and like you said, it's the community, really the greater Gainesville area is broader than we give it credit for it sometimes too.
Exactly.
And you can draw on that. Yeah, a lot of people recommend you, the further you niche it down, the flip side is the less competition you have too.
Right. That's true. That's true. It's I mean, an exciting group that I see here are those not bunt cakes, man. Those things go like hotcakes.
Right.
Folks are going. I was talking to a banker that's around there. He's like, man, they got a line every time I come in there. You know, it's kind of like, I'm like, well, sound like they hit on the formula, exactly what people are looking for.
Right.
Yeah,
On that
another
demand,
one.
the niche.
yeah, it's Halo Potato Donuts is
Exactly.
another one like that.
That is. It's a,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
they're
amazing.
queued up. I mean, I'm in the gym at old dark 30 and I'm coming back, it's still dark and people are queued up. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah,
Well,
line.
you know,
There's a line wrapped all the way around the building when they open the Tower Road one
yeah.
for
And
donuts.
it's
you know,
gotta
$4
love it.
donut.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You know?
Your $6 coffee and
Yeah, $6 coffee and a $4 donut. And
That's right.
but you know what? They're delicious, and they've got
They
like
are.
they kind of made their own market.
They did. They created their own. And one of the things I love when people come to town, I tell them, go to the new place on Tower Road and take a picture. They got this great mural in the back on the side. And it's incredible. I'm like, go in there and take a picture in front of that mural with your Halo donut, you know,
Yeah,
and help market our community. That's right.
definitely.
so what are some of the successful businesses you've seen? And I know you might not be in a position, you know, we're showing or shouting out some names right now. but what's maybe a thread through those successful businesses? So we talk about the Halos, you talk about these other kind of startups in Gainesville, and what's the thread that makes them successful outside of demand? We heard demand. We just talked about niche.
I would say, that consistency. You got to be consistent. So, let's take Halo. For years, I would see them there in the dark with that little trailer, getting all set up and everything, and people could count on them being there. So that's why they would get up early and be there. They were consistent. I would go to the gym daily and they would be consistently there. And people don't understand the benefits for consistency, and it's just like being consistent with your work, delivering, doing whatever. That is so important. And the companies that are successful are those that are consistently delivering or dependable, that people can count on and know they're going to be there. Those individuals that, product, whatever. And that's so critical for people to know that, I know they're going to be there. I know I can count on them. I know I can go there early in the morning and pick up a dozen donuts, take in and bless the team at the office. I know, just a basic thing. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I'm glad you brought that up, and we kind of went on that little tangent there with they were grinding away in the dark in a food truck, right? Yeah. I mean, they didn't have lines wrapped around the store.
Right.
It took years to get to the point before they had the following to then open a storefront, to then have the lines.
Right.
Now it's at almost exponential growth point.
It is.
Right.
You're right. They take that truck to Newberry Road. They take it to Archer Road. They take that little truck out there into Newberry. They would take that truck to build that following.
Yeah.
And be there. And that's, people don't recognize that. That's a small thing. They're looking for a big wow.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
when we talk about the grind, that's part of the grind. Whoever's got to hook up that truck and trailer and take it out there and get out there, and it's dark. Everybody else is asleep, getting everything set up. So when everyone's out and about in the morning ready, they're there.
Right.
Awesome. I saw one of their job postings one time, and I'm pretty sure they start at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and when they start cooking. And I think it's mostly college kids that they recruit, so.
Heck yeah. I mean, you roll from the bar to the donut truck.
Yeah.
Hey,
sleep later. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Reverse cycle it, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's some,
make the donuts,
but they're kind of filtering some tenacity there, and they just the ones that apply, knowing what they're getting into for that.
That's true. Carson, you're right.
Interesting. It's kind of like pouring concrete. I'm a concrete guy. That's 2-3 o'clock in the morning too.
That's right, man. Hey, get that boom truck, you're up there early. Hey, you try to get all that concrete in before the sun's up, huh?
That's right. In Florida, we are at least. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Eric, what are some personal antidotes, from your time? You talk about the RTI and getting in there at 2 a.m, seeing the others, kind of, I mean, from a personal level, if you were talking to you and I talking right now, you and I, Carson, what if we're starting up a business? Oh, wait a minute, maybe we are. What would you tell us?
Absolutely. So, my biggest thing is making sure that you're committed. You're really committed to making this a success. And in that commitment, I really want to find out your passion about doing this. So are you and Carson both naturally engaged and stoked with meeting people and hearing these stories, and you receive something from it also? Because in life, we can't give what we don't have.
Yeah.
And so if I'm giving you something, Matt, and I also get a charge and energized and stoked about it, it just kind of helps build it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those things. It's real funny. I heard Kobe Bryant say this thing one time, he was in practicing and somebody came in from another team and they came in early to practice also. And he continued to practice all the way until that person quit. Right. And he said, the person came up to him afterwards and said something like, man, why are you staying there so long? And Kobe said, because you were there.
Right.
And it's like he was feeding on that competitor being there and it, to do
Fueled
even
him.
more. He's fueled by it also. So in
Right.
addition to perfecting his craft and doing that in there, he was encouraged and fed on the energy. This guy they're going to be playing tonight, like is in there practicing also. In his mind, he was not going to out practice him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
that mentality.
Exactly. This podcast that you're getting also and receiving from those who are coming on, and you're not just giving.
Yeah.
It has to be reciprocal because you have to be getting fed to be sustained. And it has to be a passion where you're being energized so you can come back again and you can come back again and you can be consistent. And because you're in a niche that you're supposed to be in and that you're created to be in, no one's going to outwork you. No one's going to be better at this than you. You're willing to pay a price that nobody else is willing to do it, to be the best, and you're in your spot on what you're created to do. And, look, hey, if you want to lose, we'll get into this spot, but no one's going to be better at this, than Matt and Carson, because this is, you're getting fed from this, you're being stoked. And at the same time, you're sharing the importance of having that tenacity.
Dude, I'm stoked right now. I'm ready to go.
That was really well said. So basically what you're saying is taking it from a passion, and then the next level is it's your purpose.
Right.
I think that's what people don't. You can be passionate about something and still fizzle out. It's the perseverance phase is when it turns into your purpose. Exactly.
So it's funny, one of the things I was just talking to the folks at Mechanical was the signature themes. These are, I don't know if it's showing up.
Sort of.
I guess I got that funny background thing to mess with stuff.
If you put it right in front of your chest, it should show up.
I put it by my chest. Let's see.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. And so, these signature themes, it started many years ago with a Gallup organization that did it. And now I forgot who it is. Somebody else does the Strength Finders signature themes now. They bought it out from Gallup. But these things let you know who you are. So these are my top 5 strengths. 1, I'm very strategic. 2, I'm very focused. 3rd, I'm competitive. 4th, I'm an activator. That means I can't wait to work, get it done, started. And the 5th is woo, winning others over. And I love people, and my wife could tell you, I go in a room, I'm not looking for the people I know, I'm looking for the people I've never met. And she's the opposite. She's looking only for the people she knows,
right.
It's that kind of stuff. And it's just our natural strengths that we created. And from that, I know competition's a big deal. As a kid, my siblings could tell you, I would say it's not over till I win, whether we're playing chess, basketball, hey, it's not over. So I know competition is a part of me, very strategic and my thought process and what I do and how I'm very singular focused. I don't know how these folks multitask and do stuff. I know that's not a strength of mine. My wife can do all these multiple things. I'm like, wait, honey, let me finish this, and then I'll come over here and do that with you. It's that kind of thing, And as an activator, I'll be sitting. It's enough talking. Let's get some action behind all this talking. That's enough of all of this. And sometimes I need to slow down and listen a little bit more instead of just running off and doing. And so these are all components, and you learn about yourself. And then you learn about the strengths of your coworkers and other people and those around you, and you understand the way they are. I was sharing with them, I said, the great thing that happened with these signature themes in the Strength Finder is I had a boss that was very deliberative, and he would just take a long time going through the process and thinking and weighing. And I'm an activator. This just was not a good match for me. I'm just like, I'm ready to run and go. And he's still talking and going. I'm just like, oh. Right. And as soon as I understood he was deliberative, I was fine. I knew it would take him a while to get there.
Right.
And I
was in with that mindset.
Exactly. I wasn't. He's going through his process. Now, just because I've been there a few days before and stuff, I have to wait, and then we're off. We're in it together, and so it's just that kind of tools that help you understand how to work with others and help you even understand your blind spots.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's reminds me of the DISC assessment with velocity with the personality types. And that was
Mhm.
very enlightening for me to see, like you said, your blind spots, and you don't know what you don't know. And you can use that to build a cohesive team, or you can
Right.
not use it and have a bunch of people butting heads too. Cause like I had
Sure.
some
Yeah.
specific clients that I used to really butt heads with, and it's because we were the same personality type, and
Yeah. Okay.
no one could win.
Yeah.
So if you don't know those things about yourself, then you
Yeah.
can't pivot or audible. So
Mhm.
that's really interesting. I hadn't heard of that one, but I'm going to look that up. That sounds helpful.
I think today it's called Clifton Strength Finders.
Okay.
Clifton Strength Finders. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
So we asked like that personal side of it. So, here it is. Now you're in your chamber seat, and let's
Yeah.
say this podcast gets out there, or you have the opportunity to send the podcast out to a business
Sure.
and say, hey, why would you want to come to Gainesville and start up a business in Gainesville? What are the things that you would tell that business coming here, to be part of this community, and the things that they should be doing to be successful?
Absolutely. So to me, that's a really easy question, because we have some incredible amenities here in this community. And I just tell them, for me, I know I've become very partial to university towns, because we get a lot of the big town amenities with the small town environment. And to me, that's really important, because our community is really close. And a business coming here, we can pivot in ways that large communities can't. So I'll give you an example. We had a manufacturing group that was here. We were able to put them in the room with folks from University of Florida. We could put them with Santa Fe, the Career Source. We can also put them in there with utility company, CSX Railroad, different kinds of stuff. We're small enough to be able to reach and bring all the key players that are critical to this business, to show how we can work together and help make sure this is the proper environment for them. Now they go around the rest of the world, they don't get that.
Yeah.
But we're savvy enough to know the importance of making that happen and bring those individuals together. But we're small enough where it's not a big lift for us to do.
Right.
So, that's one of the unique components. Another would be our placement in North Central Florida. So an example, right now, we're having a huge migration into our state. Pre-pandemic, we were talking about maybe 1,000 people per day net moving into our state. I think since the pandemic, we've seen that increase. It's probably close to 1,200, and the places they're coming from, top 5 are New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois. Now, they're not coming to Gainesville in the North Central Florida region. They're going more into South Florida. So wonderful. Right. But our growth is coming from South Florida. The folks in South Florida are coming up here, Southeast and Southwest. And we're also seeing a lot from Atlanta, which is really weird. So, it's exciting to see this stuff happen. And we've had some companies acquire companies from Georgia that are here, and they're talking about making their second headquarters here, because so many of their employees are trying to get to Florida, and that's the location here. And it's just really a neat process to see happening in our community. Another component is when we talk to the manufacturers, probably the last 4 that came in the last 6 months, they wanted to come here because the Southeast is the fastest growing region for their customers. So their business is growing. So they may have started in Pennsylvania, expanded and moved into Midwest to Ohio, that kind of stuff. But now they're seeing the Southeast is their fastest growing, and Florida is the fastest area in the Southeast. So they're looking for a strategic area to really build their plant and to grow and move it. And also a lot of their employees and their talent wants to move to Florida. So it's a combination. And so when you look at I-75 and I-10, they can get products up and down, north, south, east, and west, based on here, have that presence, because they were having customers that were really, another one was telling me, having challenges waiting on their product to come all the way from the Northeast.
Right.
And their largest customer base is here and growing. And so we're watching those strategic moves. Another conversation would really be tied to that we have a very strong agricultural history in this area. And so if we go back to the 1800s, Gainesville was probably the 4th largest city in Florida at that time. Well, it's because of all the railways.
Yeah.
And so with CSX and those different ones coming through here, a lot of these companies are trying to be near different freight and rail lines. And we have them crisscrossing through our county. That makes it a great opportunity. And we have sites for development that are right on those rail spurs, which are another benefit, from a manufacturing or larger group wanting to come here. Then it's just, we take our climate. Our climate's incredible.
Yeah.
And our natural environment, our springs, our prairies, our parks, you're watching people come every day. My sister comes down here to visit the shows at the Performing Arts because she can't get into them in the Kennedy Center. She lives up in Alexandria, Virginia, and she can't. But when they're coming here, I said, "Look, hey, you come, I'll buy you the ticket."
Right, right. Same traveling troupe. It's
yeah. And so there you look at what's happening in a buzz, and every weekend there's something going on here. If it's not the University of Florida at a graduation or some kind of thing, it's athletics, it's Gator Nationals, it's our high school athletics. We're real excited about the new convention center.
Yeah.
Not convention center, but sports arena.
Yeah.
New sports arena that's a Celebration Point. That's going to be used for all types of events. So it's just a great community. And the best part is the people.
Yeah.
You get here, the people in the South, I think, are just some of the warmest and best people, and just creates a wonderful climate. And it's what a lot of people are looking for, especially after they've been cooped up in the pandemic in different parts of the country this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you make a great point that a lot of entrepreneurial people maybe glance over or don't think about, but the balance of having other stuff to do, the climate's enjoyable, go outside, get some vitamin D, right? Take your family out, and you might have to grind until 2:00 in the morning tonight, but what, I'm going to sleep in, and then me and my family, we're going to go to the park and go to lunch, right? And kind of get that balance on the backside. So,
and we hadn't even touched on the tax base.
Right. Yeah. Facts. Yeah. Well, we're coming up on an hour here, and we usually like to do a little recap of what we've heard, and obviously it's a kind of our perspective listening to you. So at the end of this, if you want to chime in anything else, but Eric, it was great to hear about your story, and you talk about being that entrepreneurial spirit and kind of the pivots that you made early in your life, and realizing like, hey, I want to be married and I love my wife, so therefore, maybe this profession as a priest really isn't for me. But to me, you take that education in theology, and then all of a sudden you're working for IBM, but you didn't look at that and say no. Right. You said, man, opportunity's knocking, I'm opening that door, and I'm not sure where it's going to go yet, but I'm sure that finance education you got at IBM helped you through your times at RTI and all the way through.
I use it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you reinvested in yourself and your education and got into that biotech and saw an opportunity there, jumped on it. And then sitting there at J&J kind of going, hey, I'm going to be selfless. My wife's dream is to be a dentist.
Yeah.
And UF's a spot for us, and I'm going to give this up and let her pursue her passion and her dream, because that's okay, because we're a team.
Yeah.
And that was awesome to kind of hear that. But and look where it's landed you. Right. Landed you at UF, meeting some great people in that entrepreneurial spirit, starting a company, starting another company, being president, CEO of Chamber, just amazing. Yeah. Where it's led you. And so kind of having that perseverance, the foresight, the willingness to take on opportunities and kind of go, no, that's not really what I thought I was going to do, but dude, it's staring you in the face, embrace it. And you did. I think, all that is awesome. The mirror image, and then giving that back, not only as part of the chamber, giving it back to the community, but also to the youth, and with mirror image and giving that back and being part of that team, and really just showing them like, hey, you can do it. You can, we believe in you. We're going to expose you to those opportunities. And guess what? We're not going to let you settle. We're going to hold you accountable. And I think that's awesome all the way through. The passion, the demand, the consistency, all of that. Eric, I'm pumped. I'm psyched. This was great. I love talking to you and getting to know you at this level. I mean, we've known each other for years, but we've never really talked like this, and I'm loving it.
It's been my pleasure, Matt.
Absolutely. Yeah, Carson, anything to wrap us up?
No, I just wanted to say thanks. Also, I think, man, it was almost that your whole spiel about perseverance. I mean, it was almost like it was rehearsed. It's like verbatim a lot of the things that I've said in maybe some previous episodes that,
Okay.
you know, it'll start sounding very similar, but it was just perfect. It was the message that I'm exactly what I'm trying to drive home. I mean, you knocked it out of the park without even knowing you were doing it. So it just worked out perfect.
Well, thank you both for inviting me on here. This was a pleasure, and Carson, to meet you and catch up and chat. And hey, there's no secret formula, man. You just got to get out there and grind. And I mean, the sooner
That's a secret to some, Eric.
That's right.
It is a secret to some. It's just like, hey, just jump in and give it your all, and
Keep
don't
fighting,
stop
baby.
till you win. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not over till you win. It's just kind of like, hey.
You know, some of these I like to close out with a question, kind of a philosophical question. What does grit mean to you? But I think you just answered it.
Yeah.
The daily grind, man. It's just
Yeah.
jumping in and having that and doing your best. And it's amazing what'll happen.
It's not over until I win.
That's it.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's just
Excellent.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you again, Eric. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
all
Have a
right.
good one.
Have a great day, guys.
You
Thanks.
too.
All right. You too.
Thank you for listening to the Grit Growth Podcast with host Carson Stefanelli and Matt Webster. We sincerely hope you were inspired by the interview and found at least one useful tool or tactic to implement in your own life. Now, level up by taking immediate action. Apply one lesson learned to your life as soon as possible to make sure it sticks. Post it and tag us to increase accountability. You can join the Grit Growth movement to restore American grit to its former glory by building an unprecedented force of conquerors, both in business and in life, at www.gritgrowth.org and wherever you're active on the socials. Please also drop a rating and review on your podcast app, as it goes a long way in helping the movement gain traction. Now, don't let this inspiration go to waste. Commit to conquer. Lead your life. Leave a legacy. Gather your grit and go get after it.